we were driving home from DC. We were like in Louisiana at this gas station, and I didn't even tell him that I was gonna go in and take a test. But it was like this grungy old place, and I came out and I was just skipping, and I just said, "I have some news for you." And he was like, "What?" "We're pregnant!" And I showed him the little pregnancy thing, and ironically, he was recording me just because I was skipping, and he was like, "Look at my cute wife, she's just skipping away." So we got it all on film, and then that's how we ended up telling our parents too, was we just said, "Oh, look at this fun video." So we had the pregnancy test and our big announcement for everyone to see.
My advice is that while they're here, is that students need to learn how to set themselves apart from the average folk, the average student, right? And that begins not when they graduate, that begins today, now, right? And be willing to do hard things, be willing to do the uncomfortable stuff, making sure if it's talking to faculty about not understanding an assignment, is it organizing a group, or you're in a group activity and the students aren't participating, to not just sit back and suffer through it, but learn to step up and do the hard things. That would be my counsel, because that's life.
All right, so my family and I went to Mexico with some members of our church. And we go every year for fall break, and fireworks are a big thing when we go together. We spend a lot of our money on it and launch a lot of them off on the beach. So us not knowing what fireworks could do or how to handle them, being our first year, we stuck one of the mortars in upside down in the tube, the shoot-off tube. We launched the fuse like normal, and it went off, but nothing left the tube. And we looked down at the tube, and the tube just blows up in our faces, essentially. And so we learned then how to securely and safely light off a mortar firework. So we're expert pyrotechnicians now.
I am the owner of Native Headwear, which is a clothing company I started about a year ago in January of 2014. And the reason I chose Native was because I wanted a company that represented everybody, and everybody's native to somewhere. So that's the reason why I chose the word Native. I didn't want to be so selective, and it's been going on for about a year, and looking around, I've already seen a few people with Native on, so it's kind of blowing up here in Rexburg, small town of Rexburg. But yeah, it's just something I love. I love fashion, I love streetwear, and it's something I've always wanted to start. And I figured before going on to a big boy job and starting a family, I would try it out. So that's what I'm doing right now.
When I was younger, especially in middle school, I got bullied a lot for things that I really couldn't control about myself. And I remember I always thought, because of that I had to be someone else. There was this expectation of this mold that I had to fit if I was going to be a good member of society, I thought. And I thought that my differences and things that maybe were unique to me, I viewed it as a bad thing. And I kind of held true to this up until high school, and even now a little bit. But I remember one day in high school, my dad took me to Los Angeles, and we were driving around, and I started talking to him about these things that I was feeling, about how I felt like I wasn't good enough. I felt that I couldn't measure up to who I thought I was supposed to be. And I think people all the time feel that way, if it's being the perfect member or the perfect husband, the perfect this. And we feel like we all have to be like the same. We all have to be this mold to fit in. And I remember one day my dad, when I was in Los Angeles, when I was talking to him, he told me that that it's okay to be different. In fact, that you should be. It's okay to be a little weird, or to maybe not fit the stereotype of what you think you're supposed to be, but that the differences that you have make you you. And embracing diversity and embracing other people for who they are, I feel like, for one, will solve a lot of issues in the world, but will just help us be more comfortable with ourselves and confident in ourselves. And that is something that I hold very true to myself, that being who you are and not being ashamed of it is really important.
So when I was 8 years old, my dog, who we had had for about 4 years, was playing with my brother, and my brother was getting really rough with him, so the dog ended up biting my brother in the face. And so my brother wasn't really injured. It chipped his tooth though, but he was okay, didn't have to go to the hospital or anything. But then my parents, feeling that our dog wasn't safe to have around us anymore, decided to call animal control, and they ended up coming and taking our dog away to put to sleep. And the lady tried to tell me that they were taking it to a nice farm where it was going to go live and be able to run around. And I told the lady that I'd heard that before. And then I just realized my dog was going to die. They were going to put to sleep. And it was the saddest day of my life. And to that. And it rained on that same day. It was really gloomy.
So it was probably around the age of like 2 or 3. Midday, my mom decided to take a nap while we were all watching TV. And I got the bright idea of rubbing Vaseline all over the screen and then putting baby powder all over it. I got in trouble, I just don't know how much.
So my name is Danique Charles. I was born in Haiti, but I lived in New Jersey for 11 years before coming here. And I chose to come to BYU-Idaho because of the spirit. And it's relatively cheap, so that was one of the reasons. And it's a change, like it's very different from the East Coast. So I was longing for that change and that trying to be better. I felt it could make me a better person.
Zach and I were dating about 3 months, and a couple of our friends went to Six Flags, and we were on this ride called Tatsu, where you're facing down on the ground. And before the ride went, I was like, I don't know if I love you, just trying to be joking around. Like, I don't know if this is gonna work out. And then we go, and it's like super crazy, and we had so much like hyperness and just so much adrenaline. And then right after, I was like, Zach, I'm being serious. I love you, and I want to marry you. Like, something weird just happened while we were doing the ride and everything. So yeah, that's how. And then he also felt the same feeling.
So when I was younger, I used to like to ride my bike a lot because we had a really long driveway. And I remember one time my brother wanted to go with me, and I told him to go away. But I remember I felt really bad, so I had him come back, and then we actually had one of the best times ever, just riding up and down this driveway.
How old were you?
I think I was around 6 or so.
How old was he?
He was 4.
So I was on a date. Well, actually, I wasn't even on a date. I'd been asked on a date, and this guy had forgotten, like he hadn't saved my number in his phone, so he didn't give me any warning that he was coming. So I was like kind of dressed for a date, but he was late, and I fell asleep on the couch, but I had contacts in. So one of my contacts went fuzzy while I was asleep. He found my like address through like the stalker board, the stalker net on BYU-I. Anyway, so he knocked on the door and he's like, "Are you still good to go?" And I was like, "Yeah," like totally groggy because I just woken up. And we were going rock climbing, so we went rock climbing, and so he taught me how to belay, which if you don't know is where you like let the other person down the wall. So he's rock climbing, he's like a pro rock climber, he's great at it. So I did my stint on the wall, and I'm a really bad rock climber, but then I was belaying him, and we didn't think about the fact that I'm, a 100-pound girl, and he was probably, he had at least 50 pounds on me. So I'm belaying him, and all of a sudden I start flying up in the air, and he starts dropping off the wall, right? So he like catches the rope, like I'm like 10 feet off the ground at this point. He's 10 feet lower than he should be, like just dead weight drop off the wall. And he like attaches himself to the wall, and some guy like at the bottom is like, "Oh crap," and like grabs the back of my harness and ties me off to like 100-pound weight at the bottom. So I'm like 10 feet up in the air, tied off to this weight, belaying my date off the wall, and I can't see out of one eye because my contact is still blurry. It was just one of those dates, so I finally got him off the wall, but I don't know, my flying off the wall, rappelling date, and then, yeah, it was awesome.
So for my 10th birthday, we went to Disney because we lived in Florida. and it was my sister and my brother-in-law took me, and we went on Space Mountain, and like, I guess it just wasn't heavy enough or something, but like, I was like flying out of my seat, and my brother-in-law like had to hold me in, but it was like the first time I ever went on like a roller coaster, so it was super awesome.